It's a special Future Focus crossover episode as the Bucks get ready to take on the Hornets and the Lakers at home before heading to Cleveland to play the Cavaliers. We have exclusive insights from the host of those teams to give us the scoop on what to expect on today's episode of Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the #1 sports podcast network, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and co-host of the Technical Foul podcast. Appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And we'll be wrapping up the work week on Locked On Bucks here with a Future Focus crossover episode of the pod, getting to know the ops a little bit better by previewing the next 3 matchups for the Bucks. So we got the Hornets, a little deja vu there since we just saw them on Wednesday. Get them on Friday in Milwaukee for an NBA Cup group play game, followed by the Lakers on Saturday, second night of a back-to-back, and then the Cavs on Monday. So we'll be joined by all of the respective Locked On hosts for these teams, meaning we'll be joined by Walker Mehl of Locked On Hornets, Andy Kamenetzky from Locked On Lakers, and Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs. But let me tell you this first and foremost. Today's episode was brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So head to FanDuel.com to get started. And to get us started this week, we are joined by Walker Mehl of Locked On Hornets. Walker, thank you so much for joining us here today. Now, Bucks and Hornets already played, got a little taste of what that matchup might be, and the Hornets came out on top. Took like 43s in this game, nearly doubled up the Bucks at the free throw line and knocked them down at an 85% clip, something that makes Bucks fans jealous, I am sure. Crashed the boards like crazy. Would you say what we saw in Hornets Bucks on Wednesday was a typical performance from these really shorthanded Hornets?
First of all, thank you for having me. Is it a typical performance? All right. It's typical, I guess, this year, not necessarily so much the result. I do think that there is a nice infrastructure being put down within the franchise by Charles Lee. Like, is it typical? No, actually not used to seeing this sort of thing in recent years across a couple of different regimes. But overall, throughout the start of this season, there's been some good and there's been some bad. I think the bad has been LaMelo Ball being injured again, Brandon Miller being injured in the second game of the season, right? We're all too familiar with injuries. I would think over the last 4 years. Yeah, it's been 4 years. I can't imagine there's been a more injured team in the league with their key players, more so than the Hornets over that time frame, like different years here and there. Okay. So like that's typical. What's not typical historically has been that the Hornets will win the rebounding battle quite consistently, but they haven't lost a rebounding battle all year long. Like that's a real surprise compared to what's happened the last couple of years. And we all thought this was going to be the weakest part of the team, that center rotation. You draft a guy in the second round in Ryan Kalkbrenner, and you immediately have to rely on him as your anchor rim protector. And I've always been a Moussa Diabate stan.
I am too, to be honest with you.
Right,
he flashed for me last year watching Bucks Hornets, and I was like, I like that kid.
Welcome to the club. We welcome you with open arms. So perhaps we'll find you a cabinet position on the cabinet, but I like to consider myself the president of the fan club. But even so, like I was in the offseason, I felt like I was a little illogically high on him, and I had to retreat, say, okay, you guys that are just only somewhat high on him probably have the right take. But nah, man, I mean, he's been excellent. The offensive rebounds are ridiculous. He doesn't stop. The season high that he had last night with 13 total, season high 8 offensive rebounds, like that's something that we saw from last year. Doc Rivers talked about it, saying, yeah, Moussa Diabate destroyed us on the offensive glass last year, had 10 offensive boards as a season high just a year ago. Like that's typical from him. The skill that he's showing wasn't typical from what we saw last year. He's hitting his free throws at a higher rate. You know, Colin Sexton, the rookies, and Sion James and Kon Knueppel, it's been the new additions where I've described it all offseason long as just hitting a couple of doubles here and there. I don't know if you hit any home runs, although Kon is playing like it. It's different around here, man. Like I know I sound giddy off of it. We've won 4 games. All right. We just beat a Giannis-less Milwaukee team. But I think why Hornets fans are excited around here. It's because things seem to be turning in the right direction with an infrastructure in place that hasn't been there in years past. And so when you ask, is it typical? No, when you compare what we've seen this year to years past. But from what we've seen on a game in, game out basis this season, yeah, it's been pretty typical for what we've seen over the last 11 games.
Interesting. And see, when you guys hired Charles Lee, that was a hire I was very high on because he comes from that Mike Budenholzer coaching tree. We saw him in Milwaukee here during the championship season. So I have a lot of love for Charles Lee and what he's trying to create over there in Charlotte. Unfortunately, injuries, as you mentioned, have been a big part of the Charlotte Hornets story, not just this season, but last year, the year before that as well. What are the updates on the injury status for like your big four guys who are currently out? LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, Josh Green, and Grant Williams, who, if I remember correctly, initially got injured in the game against the Bucks last year and has not returned to the court since.
Yeah, so going back with Josh Green and Grant Williams, starting with Grant, when he suffered his knee injury last year, it was a devastating knee injury, more so than just ACL. I mean, I don't even remember. I've had to get used to so much medical jargon with all the injuries, scapholunits, subluxations. I just know the titles. I don't know exactly everything that Grant Williams tore, but it was a devastating knee injury outside of just your typical ACL injury that was going to keep him out for quite some time. But because Grant Williams attacks rehab with an energy that very few players do, he's actually on a pretty decent track given the circumstances that he suffered. Josh Green has a shoulder injury. We haven't got an exact timeline on those two guys, but we'll see. I would expect, I'm not sure who to expect back sooner between those two, but we knew that they were going to miss some time at the beginning of the season. Nothing is crazy surprising there. Now with LaMelo and Brandon Miller, he suffered a shoulder subluxation in the second game of the season. We were a little in the dark on what the timeline was for a while. There was the report that Brandon Miller was seeking a second opinion, and it turns out, no, he did suffer a shoulder subluxation. It is going to keep him out for a while. The Hornets said about, I would say like a week and a half ago now, that they would reevaluate him in 2 weeks. So we'll see what that reevaluation looks like for Brandon Miller in just I would say a couple days worth of time. Now, I'll warn you, the Hornets would say to us last year that they'd reevaluate a player in 2 weeks, and then nothing would happen. So we wouldn't get a player to return right away. Like, who knows what's going to happen with Brandon Miller? Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later. I would expect LaMelo Ball to play in this game Friday against Milwaukee. It just seems like we're headed that direction. He's been out the last 5 games with right ankle impingement. It's a little scary because LaMelo has had a billion ankle injuries for quite some time. He's played 36 games, 22 games, and 49, I believe, each of the last 3 seasons. He's not been playing a lot, obviously. And last year, at the end of the season, he started to miss some of those games with, yes, right ankle impingement. And he went through surgery to help with his impingement over the offseason. And for that to rear its head again, clearly it's not a comforting sign. Charles Lee talked about how they had a plan for LaMelo, and it seems like they all got in a room, LaMelo and his party, the Hornets, Charles Lee, they all have a plan. Going to try to make him play as many games as possible. Everybody seems to be pretty responsive to it. So hopefully it all goes well. But the way that Charles Lee was talking, he just finished up a practice session with the G League affiliate that we have in the Greensboro Swarm. So all that to say, if I had to put money down, I would bet LaMelo plays in this NBA Cup game against Milwaukee.
Okay, that's going to be interesting. Every time I feel like LaMelo plays against the Bucks, he has himself a game.
He loves Milwaukee. I
don't know what it is, but it's like he sees Bucks and he's like, time to cook. Let's
no, you're not wrong. 50-point performance, triple-double, game-winning floater. He loves playing Milwaukee.
I don't know what it is, but I need him to get that out of his system from the Bucks side. Let me ask you this last question here, because you mentioned how the rookies have come in and they've been contributing. You mentioned hey, they're hitting some doubles here, but can you talk a little bit about the impact that these young guys have had on the team, and especially Kon Knueppel, because this is going to be his first game back in his home state of Wisconsin. So it'll be a lot of feelings. I'm sure he's going to have a big contingent of fans in the audience for this NBA Cup game on Friday.
Yeah, and it's been wild. It's been absolutely wild. So Kon Knueppel, there was a real conversation about who the Hornets were going to draft number 4 overall. Was it going to be Kon? If VJ Edgecombe wasn't there, it'd be Kon, VJ Edgecombe, Ace Bailey. We all remember what was going on with Ace Bailey at that time, but it felt like it was going to be between those 3. And when they selected Kon, I liked the pick. I had Trey Johnson higher. VJ Edgecombe would have been the dream, but they select Kon, and I really liked it. I just felt, okay, going to help us pretty much right away. but I don't know what the ceiling is on him. And now everybody's had to recalculate. He, in my opinion, has a great case for being the leader in the Rookie of the Year award, which is not something I expected. Now, I think some of that is because he is still being pretty efficient on the volume he's getting without LaMelo and without Brandon. When LaMelo comes back, I don't know how much his numbers are going to change. I would expect the efficiency to go up, though. Just LaMelo has so much attention on him. I think Kon's going to get freed up for better looks, and you saw how well he played with LaMelo on the floor. I think they're going to be able to create sweet music with one another again. So he's been incredible. He's such a smart basketball player. Like when he gets into the paint, the lobs are great. He's such a good passer. The cutting, he'll create so much separation on just simply making the right read. He's not faster than everybody. He just knows what read to make. And now you can't recover in time, and he's going to just hit a three in your face. He's been
just
excellent.
Smart player.
Yeah, man. Like just understands everything. So good. And also like strong, absorbs contact real well. It's surprising defensively. Sion James, maybe not so surprising defensively, but surprising offensively. The efficiency from him is through the roof. Just absolute bananas. Nobody thought he was going to be able to shoot this well right away, and it's not. I mean, I think he's shooting something like 60% from three. So it's going to come down, but he looks real comfortable in those spot-up opportunities. The Hornets are generating a lot of corner threes. He's been one of the beneficiaries of that and knocking him down at a high clip. Plus, he's just a powerful guy, just a monster of a human out there on the perimeter. Excellent rebounder, knows where to be on the court and fill in the spaces. And then Ryan Kalkbrenner. I was high on Kalkbrenner coming out of Creighton, 4-time Defensive Player of the Year. We knew some of his accolades coming out. We needed some center help, especially after that trade with Mark Williams. I didn't expect Kalkbrenner to be as good right away. And I figured he would help. I figured they would call on him quite a bit to where he wouldn't be playing with the G League affiliate as much. But they started him right away. He's been playing more minutes than Moussa Diabate, all but the Lakers game. And I guess I didn't see the minutes distribution here, but he's been playing more than Moussa quite frequently. And he's been protecting the rim quite well. I thought the deterrence, as you saw in this one, I thought, I thought this Milwaukee game was his best game. Season high, career high with the 17. Just hits everything. I think he's 40 of 50 from the field now. Just absolutely, it's crazy. I don't care if you're hitting a whole bunch of shots in the restricted area. He's taking bumps. Like you saw that second shot he hit on that alley. He was getting driven out of the paint, but finishes in the air still. What he's provided offensively and defensively, just serving as that anchor. Charles Lee's compared him to Brooke Lopez quite a bit.
I can see that without the shooting touch yet.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think you bring that up. I think it's there, but what Ryan and Charles have focused on is all of the little things first, focusing on the fundamentals, and then we'll expand our game as his career grows. But it's growing. I mean, man, maybe rapid pace is an exaggeration, but he's been incredible. I mean, you know, the NBA.com rookie rankings, ESPN.com rookie rankings. We have 3 rookies in the top 10, with Kon Knueppel being first on one list, third on the other. Kalkbrenner is top 5 on both, and then Sion James snuck in there with ESPN. You could argue should be higher. It's been crazy. It's the best draft that we've had as a collective in, I mean, I don't even know how far you have to go back, but you have to go back pretty far.
Yeah, some hope there in Charlotte, and I'm expecting a very good game between the Bucks and the Hornets in Milwaukee. I'm assuming Giannis will be back for that matchup, and he always changes the equation himself. So the LaMelo Giannis battle, I hope that we get in Milwaukee. I will be very excited. But Walker, thank you for your time and for joining us here.
Absolutely, it's been great. Thank you.
For sure. And as mentioned, the Bucks have a weekend back-to-back. So after playing the Hornets on Friday, the Lakers are in town on Saturday. So we'll be joined by Andy Kamenetzky of Locked On Lakers right after this. When I'm hydrated, everything works better. My focus, my energy, my mood, especially my skin. And that's why I've been using Drip Drop. It's doctor-developed hydration that keeps me running at full power no matter what the day may look like. And Drip Drop isn't your average sports drink. It delivers 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading brands using a science-backed formula trusted by medical professionals, firefighters, and over 90% of top college and pro teams. It's super convenient to use. You just open up a packet, mix it into your water, and you have a bunch of different flavors you can choose from as well. Of course, you have your staples. You have your oranges, your lemon limes, your fruit punch, your berry, but also some interesting ones like strawberry lemonade and pina colada. Right now, Drip Drop is offering podcast listeners 20% off your first order. Go to dripdrop.com and use the code LOCKEDONNBA. That's dripdrop.com, promo code LOCKEDONNBA for 20% off. Stock up now before that heat starts to hit, and keep your body and mind performing at their best with Drip Drop. Today's episode is also brought to you by Wayfair, because that holiday season, it's right around the corner, and that means it's time to get your home ready. So whether you're going to need more seating for guests, some new linens, or some fun serveware for your holiday hosting, Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. The best part of that, you ain't even got to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off of everything from spatulas to sofas. There's a lot of wide in between things between sofas and spatulas. So everything is on Wayfair. Last time I ordered from Wayfair, I couldn't believe how fast everything shipped. So don't you miss out on early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That's WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Time is valuable, so we always appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. Thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. A special shout out always to the everydayers who tune in daily. I am now joined by Andy Kamenetzky of Locked On Lakers. Now, the Lakers have an NBA Cup game against the Pelicans on Friday before playing the Bucks on Saturday, so both teams will be seeing each other on the second night of a back-to-back. Luckily for the Bucks side of things, they don't have to travel in between their back-to-back, unlike the Lakers here. But this is the Lakers team that's been without LeBron so far all season. Luke has missed 4 games, I believe, this season. Austin Reeves has missed about 3. And despite the injuries, the Lakers find themselves at 8-4 as we record this. How have the Lakers been finding ways to win despite having some key players in and out of the lineup?
It's funny you asked that question, Camille, on the heels of this beatdown they just suffered against the Thunder, because it's now making me wonder, no, really, how have they managed to do this without LeBron at all, without Luka for a handful of games, without Austin a handful of games? Gabe Vincent has more or less missed the entire season, because last night made it, or I should say Wednesday night made it seem impossible that they could pull this off in the first place. But I think it's been a combination of, for the most part, the new guys that they brought in, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, and Jake LaRavia, have really played their roles very well. It's been a team that has played extremely hard for most of the season, and just there has been an unwillingness to accept the idea of a loss in a lot of ways. Like I think the biggest example of that was when they beat Portland, who's been better than a lot of people expected this year. And they certainly have a good defense and a lot of athleticism that the Lakers lack. They went into Portland on the second end of a back-to-back without LeBron, Luka, or Austin. And that could have been a game where, especially this one that started with the Lakers behind, they could have collectively decided, you know what, it's not our night, circumstances, yada, yada, yada. They ended up fighting through this thing and winning. And there's been a lot of that throughout the season. Rui Hachimura has been extremely good. He's only had 2 games this season where he's shot below 50% overall. He's 50-ish from the field, 40-ish from behind the arc. He's been very good. Luka, when he's been available, for the most part, has been quite good. Austin Reeves' early start really helped out the Lakers, offsetting LeBron's absence and occasionally Luka's absence. But there's been a lot of resolve with this team collectively to start the season that got them off to a good start. I think, to be honest, that resolve has been tested some on this road trip. And you guys are going to be the last game, and we knew heading into it that the Bucks would be a tough close. So we'll see how that resolve looks by the time they're in Milwaukee, but I think that's been a big piece of it.
Yeah, and that feels kind of similar to the Bucks as well, where I know Giannis talked about this team. He was like, the team that's going to fight. It does not matter, but we plan to fight for the entire time that we are out there on the court. There is no give up in this Bucks team, although this is a Bucks team that, as we record this, just lost to the Hornets in Charlotte without Giannis, but that tends to happen from time to time in the NBA. You mentioned a few different names that I want to talk about. Of course, LeBron, but actually, no, we got to start with LeBron here. I saw the news that he was assigned to the G League on Wednesday. Is there any update?
Yeah, he's trying to make it in the league, Camille. He's really hoping a good showing with the G League, with the South Bay Defenders. He might get his opportunity to play.
might be the first time you had the father on the G League team and the son on the regular roster.
We all understand why he's doing this. It's
Right,
a rehab process.
Ramp
It's
up.
part of him getting 5-on-5 play. It's just the idea of LeBron playing. I mean, I don't even know if in his rookie year, if the then D League existed instead of the development league, if LeBron ever even played with him. Like it's just a bizarre concept.
It is, but do you have any news or information about when we might expect LeBron back on the court? I'm assuming it's not going to be this trip because I don't think
he's not with the team at all. There,
unfortunately for Bucks fans, we love LeBron coming to town, especially towards the end of his career here, where it's like you don't know how many more matchups you get, and whenever Giannis and LeBron can share the court, it's special. Yeah. But do you have any updates on like when that timeline is for LeBron?
Yeah, short of something truly unexpected, he's not going to join the team on the road or anything like that. Mm-hmm. So it's not going to happen in Milwaukee. I think the hope is that he could be available on the 18th when the Lakers play the Jazz in LA. If they wanted to wait a little longer, there's a game on the 23rd, I think, against the Clippers. Mm-hmm. But the hope, and I think the plan right now, short of any setbacks, is that sometime in mid to late November, he'll make his debut.
Okay. Something to keep an eye on there for the Lakers. And something else to keep an eye on. You mentioned the new additions, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, who, let the record state, Jake LaRavia was somebody in the offseason. I was like, man, could the Bucks find a way to get Jake LaRavia? Like, I thought that he was a great pickup for the Lakers. But how have the new additions been performing with the team? You mentioned that they've been starring in their role, but what have their roles entitled so far for the team?
I mean, for the most part, they've played well in their roles. Last night was not a stellar showcase for any of them. I mean, Marcus Smart was the best of the three, but it's all relative. Marcus Smart, I'll start with him. He's done a really good job, I think, just setting a tone for this team, providing energy, providing an edge, like a certain mentality of we are going to make this as physical and unpleasant as it can be for a team that often lacks, if nothing else, defensive cohesion. The defense for the Lakers, even with this good start, has often been something that they've needed to offset as opposed to a surprising strength or anything like that. They have not been a good defensive team at all. But Smart has made a lot happen through disruption, through forcing turnovers, so some occasionally good shooting, some good secondary playmaking. But his voice, I think on defense and just his voice in terms of holding accountability, I think has mattered a lot. They brought him in to be a leader. I think very much in the way they brought in Dorian Finney-Smith last year midseason. We know you're a new guy. We think your voice will matter. We want you to use it. I think he's been doing that a lot. DeAndre Ayton, the last couple of games have not been great for DeAndre, but so far he's been a terrific safety valve or a target for Luka or Austin on pick and rolls, pick and pops. He's had that mid-range going really well. His rebounding numbers are down from where they typically are. Okay. But I do think, though, that he's been very active in the lane. And whether as a deterrent or boxing out so somebody else can get a rebound, like that question of motor is always going to be there for DeAndre Ayton. And I understand why. And the last couple games have not been the world's greatest showcase of his motor. But for the most part, I actually think it's been pretty good with the Lakers. And it seemed like he's recognized this opportunity in front of him to resuscitate both his career, but also his image. He's talked a lot when the Lakers brought him in about not being seen as a winning player and that it's bothered him. And obviously you got to do the things that erase that as opposed to just saying it. But I would say 12 games in, probably 75%, he's been doing the things that the detractors would hold against him. He's been doing those things, and that stuff matters. And he has often been very good offensively for them. Jake LaRavia, he's had a couple good offensive games. There was a game, I forgot who they played, but he scored 25 off the bench.
Was that the Wolves game where Ant was like, "Who? I don't know who he is."
Yes, exactly. It was against the Timberwolves. He had 20, I believe it was 25 off the bench. There's been a few games like that, and they need scoring from Jake. But when Jake is at his best, it's when other guys are performing well enough that he can be a connective player for the team, and also he can be a disruptive defender. Like, he is not a lockdown one-on-one defender, but what he often does well is anticipate plays, get steals, get deflections. Last time I checked, he led the team in deflections per game. And just being able to use pretty good size and very good anticipation to just muck up what the other team wants to do. And for the most part, he's been pretty successful at that. Again, this game against the Thunder will make it seem like all three of them were the three worst offseason additions that any team had during free agency. But for the most part, they've been doing their jobs.
Okay. It should be an interesting matchup in Milwaukee on Saturday night. Milwaukee always shows up for Laker games. And even though there's no LeBron, having Luka is going to bring out droves of people. So, Andy, thank you so much for your time and for joining us here on Locked On Bucks today.
Anytime, Camille. Good seeing you.
For sure. You as well. And the Bucks have a day off after playing the Lakers before they head to Cleveland to play the Cavs on Monday. We'll be joined by Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs right after this. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. So whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every single game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating that with something called the bag drop. So every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the very next day. And you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. And that fan bag actually has some stuff in it that you'd want, like player-inspired drip, some exclusive gear. But the thing I love so much about DoorDash is that it's not just food you can have delivered. You can get everything: snacks, drinks, headphones, ice, groceries, everything delivered. So next time someone in the NBA goes off for 50, use that promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 a day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is in the thick of things, the swing of things. We're getting into it. And there is no better place to get in on the action than with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or you just want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's the one that's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Joining me now is Danny Cunningham from Locked On Cavs. Let me tell y'all, never question Danny's commitment to any of the coverage of the Cavs. He's actually joining me live from an airport lounge to knock this out. So, Danny, first and foremost, I appreciate you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Travel has not been the most fun thing this time of year for myself, and I think many other Americans as well. So, doing whatever we can to make a good episode of Locked On Bucks happen here.
Facts. And, the last time the Cavs and the Bucks played wasn't too friendly for the Bucks. Wasn't that way for them last year either. In the game that the two of these teams played earlier this season, the Bucks were really short on guards. There was no Kevin Porter Jr. in that game. Still hasn't been since he got injured in the first one. No Cole Anthony, who was out with an illness at that time, and no Kyle Kuzma in that game. But the Bucks were able to hang in there for the most part. It was a 5-point loss the last time around. What has changed for the Cavaliers since the beginning of the season? As the season's getting underway, you're starting to see more trends form for the Cleveland Cavaliers. What has stood out to you from this team in the early go?
So they've gotten better offensively, and I should start by saying, well, Darius Garland has played basketball, and as we record this, it's Thursday morning at 9:20 in the morning, and Garland did not play last night. We don't have an injury report for the Cavs game on Thursday against the Toronto Raptors, which, is a few days before the game we're actually talking about here. But Garland re-aggravated his toe on Monday night against Miami. So we'll see when he's back. But him playing, I think, started to kickstart their offense. When the Cavs and Bucks played their first matchup of the season, the Cavs were kind of stuck in mud offensively. Prior to Garland's debut, which is a little over a week old right now, the Cavs were 26th in offense in the NBA. And if you think about the Cavs and this roster and what the team they were last year, that's not who they are. They finished first in offense last year. They were the second most efficient offense in NBA history, and that is not who they were for the first 8 games of the season. Garland comes back. It helps to kickstart things. And now the Cavs are all the way up to 7th. So they've gone from 26th in offense to 7th. I understand that is, it's still small sample size season with all this stuff, but that's a big jump to make no matter the time of year. So offensively, they've not been perfect, but they found a groove that they were certainly not in at the time that the Milwaukee Bucks came to town. So we'll see if that can keep up. I don't know how long, if much longer Darius Garland's going to be out with this toe re-aggravation, I guess we're going to call it. But that is the biggest thing to me that's different about the Cavs now versus 2 weeks ago.
To that point, do you feel like Darius Garland is a key that kind of unlocks the offense for the Cavaliers, or are there levels that they can hit, even if Garland happens to be out after re-aggravating that toe injury? Is there a pathway forward, or is he kind of like the secret sauce for the Cavaliers offense?
So the answer is yes. Garland is the guy that I think unlocks it, but I also think that they could be a lot better without him on the floor. And to be fair to them, the last couple of games that they've played without him, because Garland was not going to be playing back-to-backs coming back from this, even if he hadn't re-aggravated it. So he missed a game against Chicago last weekend, and the Cavs still found a way to be very good offensively. Without him in the lineup on Wednesday night against the Miami Heat, they scored 130 points. So they have figured out ways to be better without him offensively, but his return, I think, was a much needed jolt of energy for the group. And when he is on the floor, he brings dribble penetration that the Cavs just don't have enough of when he's not available. They've got Donovan Mitchell, who's great at getting downhill, but they're kind of short on that. Like, if there's one area offensively that they just overall as a team need to be better at, that to me is the one, and Garland does solve a lot of that. I think they're taking too many threes this season. They're averaging 47 3-pointers per game, which is an absurd number. I believe only one team in NBA history, the Boston Celtics from last year, attempted more 3-pointers per game than the Cavs are through 12 games so far. I think that needs to come down a little bit. And when you think Darius Garland, you think, oh, yes, great shooter. But I also think that Garland being back will actually help to improve their rim attempts when he is back to full strength and being able to play like a full minutes load. So I do think that is one thing that does need to change. But the Cavs offense is both better when Garland is available. I mean, he is an all-star point guard, but it can also be better without him. They just haven't necessarily done the right things all year. But the last couple of games they played without him, I do think they've been in the right path.
Okay, that makes some sense. And I want to highlight Evan Mobley, too, because he is somebody who his growth over the last few seasons has been really, really fun to watch. And when the Milwaukee Bucks tend to match up other teams, knowing that the Bucks are going to roll out there with Giannis and Miles Turner, the Cavs are a team that are like, hey, well, we have some size to try to combat you with Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. Now, the last time that these two teams played earlier this season, stopping Giannis is very difficult. And
you don't stop Giannis. You do not stop Giannis.
Yes. He still was able to get like 40 or something like that in the last game. It's just the fact that, they weren't able to come out with the win. Defensively, would you say that Evan Mobley or Jared Allen tends to play a bigger part right now in kind of anchoring the defense for the Cleveland Cavaliers?
So I always think the answer to this question is Evan Mobley, but I also don't think that it's necessarily possible for Evan to be as strong in so many different areas defensively without Jared Allen too. Because Jared Allen is the guy that the Cavs are going to want to use to defend the rim more frequently than not. And that is the thing that he's good at. And can he switch out? Sure, but that's not where you really want him on the floor. That's not where he's at his best. And Evan is this master of all trades defensively. I don't even want to call him a jack of all trades because that is underselling him. He's so good in so many different areas defensively. Like, can he be a rim defender? Absolutely. Can he switch out on the perimeter? Absolutely. He's very good at both of those things. Can he play that sort of free safety role that we've seen Giannis play in the Bucks defensive system for so many years? Absolutely. He's very good at all of those things. But Jared Allen being on the floor and being the rim defender that he is allows Evan to thrive in so many different roles, and really, I think, increases the Cavs' defensive flexibility when those two are on the floor together. So the Cavs are not to me, without Evan Mobley, they're not like a very good defense, but having Jared Allen allows Evan Mobley to take this team from a very good defense to a great defense, hypothetically. Now they have to go out and do it on the floor. And one of the things defensively they've tried to do so much more frequently this year is create turnovers. I think that has had both positive and negative effects because I think it's led to some offensive rebounding opportunities for opponents and some easy baskets, but it has also led to a lot of steals where I believe the Cavs are second in opponent turnovers per game so far this season.
Well, I'll tell you one thing, an area for Bucks fans, after they watch this team and when they hear the word rebounding, they're always like, if you're going up. So for the Bucks so far this season, allowing opposing teams to get offensive rebounds, to have second chance opportunities has been an area of weakness for this team. Fouling opposing teams, getting into the free throw has been a weakness for this Milwaukee Bucks team so far. And they just don't have a lot of size on the wing as well, because they are rolling out with a bunch of 6'4" guards that help to space the floor. But defensively, you're just giving up some size. And it can be a little bit difficult to keep up at times. So far throughout the season, what would you say is the weakness of the Cleveland Cavaliers for when you're looking at an opposing team scouting report and you're like, oh, they do this well? That's going to be a challenge for us in this game if we're not focused and executing at the best of our abilities.
It has been rebounding for the most part. Now, it's gotten better lately, and the Cavs have been a team over the last week or so that has really attacked the offensive glass. That has been a big area of improvement. But when you think of the Cavs, when you look at how their roster is built, they've got two bigs on the floor pretty frequently, because when it's not Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, sometimes it is Larry Nance Jr. and Jared Allen or Evan Mobley. Dean Wade is 6'9" or 6'10". DeAndre Hunter is 6'8", playing small forward pretty frequently. So they are a team that lines up rather big, but they've not been where they need to be in terms of rebounding right now. It's been better over the last week. They had a game against Washington, and take this for what it's worth, because the Washington Wizards are a very bad basketball team, as you may know. But the Cavs had 25 offensive rebounds in that game, which is the most they had in over 10 years. And then they follow it up a few nights later in Miami in a game that did go to overtime and the Cavs did lose, but they collected 26 offensive rebounds in that game. So that has been a point of emphasis for them. That has been something they've improved upon. But I do think their defensive rebounding is the one thing that should take their defense to the next level. Because when we think of defense, we think of creating steals, staying in front of your guy. But really, the key to being a good defensive team is being a good defensive rebounding team, because you have to actually end the possession. Yes, that has been the biggest problem for the Cavs defensively. So I do think, and Milwaukee plays with some size. I know that they're not necessarily a team that under Doc Rivers wants to crash the offensive glass super frequently, but I do think that is where there could be an advantage for Milwaukee.
That is very interesting, given the struggles that the Bucks have had rebounding. If this might be a game where they try to focus themselves, like, hey, let's create some second opportunity chances for ourselves in this one. So it'll be fun to see how that shakes out. Danny, thank you so much for your time and joining us here on Locked On Bucks today. And again, a big thank you to all the other Locked On hosts who joined us here today. Shout out to Walker Mehl, Locked On Hornets. Shout out to Andy Kamenetzky of Locked On Lakers. And of course, Danny Cunningham of Locked On Cavs, who gave us this brainchild to do this show where we zoom around the opponents for the upcoming week. So appreciate all of them for sure, and appreciate y'all. So thank you for making Locked On Bucks your first listen today. For that second listen, go ahead and check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball with Josh Lloyd. I say it a lot, but it's the #1 fantasy basketball podcast for a reason. Josh is going to get y'all right. So make sure you check out Locked On Fantasy Basketball wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. We appreciate you for tuning in to Locked On Bucks. We'll be back post Hornets game for some content there, a post-game show. We'll also have a post-game show after the Lakers game on the weekend. So we working over here on Locked On Bucks. We busy, we working. So make sure y'all stay locked in to Locked On Bucks.